okay, I'm with you. He, I would have followed him to hell and back, seriously. He was that kind of a leader. And I'm sitting there and okay, no problem with me. And so flew it out, and all of a sudden, all the troops landed, everything, no action. Until later that afternoon, they ran into it. And I don't know if they got the gun or not, but they had a pretty good operation going at that time. Yeah. So, and then there was another, Gary Butler, the one officer I took. It's my job to assign.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I did, I wanted the experienced pilots to fly on this mission, this big mission that we just flew. So there was a resupply to South Vietnamese LRPs. They're working way up in the jungle mountains. So
Okay.
I put Gary in thinking, it's a Cape mission. Well, they're flying this mission and they get shot down. Aircraft crashes. They got the pilot in command out and door gunners out. But Gary died, got burned up in that aircraft.
Sorry, that sucks.
And the thing is that, it was way up in the boondocks. I mean, and we knew from first tour, if we have a downed aircraft, the enemy knows that we're going to come looking for it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and so, it was agreed that they were going to send in alert patrol. Again, most of them were Vietnamese, but with an American advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to get the body out, secure the area, and we're going to pick it up. And Matt came to me and says, Mike, I can't wait any longer. I'm getting a lot of pressure. We got to go get Butler's body. Can you get me a crew? I said, yeah, I got you. Me, and I'll get me a co-pilot and door gunner and crew chief. And he said, okay. So we took off. He was command and control. And I had 2 gunships accompany me. And the thing is, we were flying, it was a lot longer flight than I thought. And we were just getting into the monsoon season. And so we're in and out of scud stuff, clouds and things like that. And finally we got to the area. And he told me, okay, go east and come in west low level, and I'll guide you in. And so I did. And when I turned, I'm flying into the sun, and the sun is just, I got all kind of glare coming off the raindrops and everything. Right. I can hardly see, and Matt's guiding me. All of a sudden, Matt calls. He says, Mike, I got a low fuel warning light. I got to go. I got to get out of here. Seriously, it's only about a mile ahead or something like that.
Right.
So, and seriously, I'm just waiting for me to get the shit shot out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I'm going in, and man, I got too much airspeed, and I know it, and I did a hairy ass flare. Fortunately, I didn't hit my tail rotor, but I set her down. They threw Butler's body on board. It was in a body bag. Pulled pitch and got out. Never took a shot. Flew to Gray's registration, which was near Queen Yan. But the smell of bird body, and you don't forget that.
I was going to say, yeah, it's
And
probably unimaginable too.
And Then there's my other story. There's a typhoon. Now this is late October.
Okay.
Typhoon Hester is coming in. And word came down, evacuate Lane Army Heliport. Get all your flyable helicopters out of there, take them down way south to an Air Force base at Fanarang. And so Matt said, well, he's staying. I said, I'll stay back too. And so, man, everybody left. And we got a skeleton crew. We don't have perimeter security or anything. We have nothing. So it's dark. The winds are blowing. It's really coming in. So we all go up. Most of us went up to the officers' club. Major Mac didn't, anyhow. So we went up to the officers' club, and we're all sitting around the table, and we're drinking. And across from me is a civilian. He was a tech rep for our Lycoming engines.
Okay.
He reached in his pocket and pulled out his motorcycle key. Now, when I got to that company, I saw this motorcycle and I said, hey, that's a Honda 450. I have one just like it. I bought one when I was down in Fort Rucker, Alabama, and between tours, and let me ride it. He says, I can't. He says, you know, Heliport commander said no military are supposed to, are allowed to ride motorcycles because they're banging themselves up. So he wouldn't let me ride it, but here we are. Grab the keys, get the motorcycle, and I'll go out, I go down to the flight line, and I'm just having a gas. Phew, phew, going back and forth, just the joy. And all of a sudden, here's this Jeep, and the first thing that comes into my mind is CMPs.
Yeah.
And so I started to go up to the officers' club. And it's on top of a hill, and there's a mean left turn that I have to make to do the last 300 yards or what to get to the top. And my plan was I was going to park the bike, run in and sit at the bar, and let them guess who was driving it. Forget it. I mean, this thing, how straight up I am. Well, anyhow, so I'm riding in the bike, and I get it, and I go in the slide, I get it upright, and I cracked the throttle, and I must went about 10 feet. And there was a little wall coming out from one of the buildings I didn't see. It was about 3 feet high. And I hit and went straight out over the handlebars. And I landed. And I looked. The bike was laying aside, the light was on, but it stalled out. And I got up, I started to walk over to it, turn the light off, and I passed out. Anyhow, when I wake up, 2 flight surgeons are running stitches through my upper eyebrow. Yeah, and that one of them was saying, and they were pretty well in the bag too, saying how he learned to stitch in med school, and well, this is how I learned to stitch, and I wake up and moan, and the one says, hey, do you think we should give him something for pain? And the other one started laughing, ran the needle through it. Mike, you feel that? No, not really. He doesn't need anything. So they sat me up, and he said, Mike, can I give you anything? I said, yeah, Darvon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So next thing, they take me my hooch, put me in a. I wake up in the morning, and all of a sudden, there's blood all over everywhere. And I look in the mirror, and I thought, oh my goodness, my eyes shut, I hardly see. So I took a shower, I got cleaned up. I'm walking up to the mess hall, and here comes Major Kappa. And as we passed, I saluted him. Morning, sir. Morning, Bongart. And I take about 10 seconds. He said, Bongart, get back here. And I'm still holding the salute. And I walk up to him. He takes my hand. He pulls it down. What happened to you? And I said, motorcycle. He says, Mike, I can't keep you down. I can't ground you. If Anderson, Hillport commander, finds out that you hurt yourself on a motorcycle, you could be in serious trouble. I said, oh, no problem, no problem. So, in the meantime, mid-afternoon, here comes our flight back from Van Rank Air Force Base.
Okay.
Okay, so they're all coming in, and I go up to the helicopter that our executive officer was flying, and he jumps out and says, Mike, you should have seen it. It was great. It was just like World War II. I said, what do you mean? He says, we were flying up feet wet, just off the coast of the South China Sea in formation, and our gunships were out ahead of us, and they went to Tuiwa to refuel, and all of a sudden, somebody keys our radios and says Hawk 6 POL. The commanding general of 1st Aviation Brigade was waiting for us, waiting for our formation at Tuiwa. Why? Because we stripped Phuket Bear. Anything they could take, fire extinguishers, chase lounges, anything they put.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, PO there, it all went out into the South China Sea. And that's what he's talking about, the bombing.
Yeah.
It was great. Oh, yeah, needless to say, the commanding general of the 1st Aviation Brigade was unhappy about that.
I would assume so.
Yeah. Well, when they saw my eye, what happened, Mike? I fell coming down from the officers club, which is logical because the path down from the officers club was really steep, and you could get banged up pretty bad. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, man, a bar fight would have been a better excuse than riding a motorcycle at that point.
Yeah. Can I?
You can tell whatever you want.
Okay. Between tours.
Okay.
Okay. I met this one night looking lady, anyhow. And I only a couple of days to go before I'm going back over.
Okay.
And so I made a date with her, got my Mustang and everything. So I go to pick her up. And just as I go to pick her up, her phone rings. All of a sudden she starts talking to this guy. It's 10 minutes, 15 minutes and talking. I thought, bullshit. So I'm walking out of the apartment, I'm about ready to get in my car. She says, where are you going? I said, look, I don't have time for this. Have a great life. And then I took off. Anyhow. Oh, no, this was, I'm sorry, first tour.
Okay.
Yeah, first tour, yeah, because, all right, so now, I'm home on leave with my head all kind of, shaved and dent and everything. And a couple of friends took me to the Moose, Harrisburg Moose, after hours from Harry's Tavern. And we're all sitting around the table. Here comes this lady that I almost had a date with. And she comes up to me and says, my God, what happened to you? And I said, well, I was in Texas and I got in a bar fight and a guy picked up a stool and smashed it over my head. And she says, oh, thank goodness. I thought you were going to tell me some pathetic story how you were shot in Vietnam.
Oh.
Seriously.
Wow.
And one of the guys at the table wanted to, no. I said, no, just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Yeah, well, anyhow, so now I'm back with this thing, black eye story.
Yeah.
Now, I had this, Michael Augustoni was my operations sergeant.
Okay.
Okay. His dad was the command sergeant major of Fort Dix. He knows the military.
Very well, I'm sure.
He knows what he can get away with, and so he's not taking any Sierra from officers or from me or anything else. And we were pretty good friends. So he says, "Mike, what happened to you?" A fellow coming down from the officers club. Okay. Well, the following day, I had a acid transmission. Now, Matt said he couldn't keep me off flight status.
Right.
So I took off. And when you take off, first thing you call base ops. Lucky Star base ops. This is Lucky Star 3. I'm off at this time, and the response is Lucky Star 3. I have you off at say 0705, and that's when you set your clock on your instrument panel.
Okay.
And so we did that, and then he says, Lucky Stars 3, be advised, your call sign has been changed. Your call sign is now Evel Knievel 6. So now I'm Evel Knievel 6.
Because how did it get out? Do you know?
Like somebody told him.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so now, that night, okay, the monsoons are coming in and things like this. I'm the only guy around that has an instrument flight examiner's rating.
Okay.
I am the battalion flare ship pilot. Okay, 0200 hours. Bong, 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 bong. I get scrambled. And somebody was in the right seat, already had the chopper burning. They're waiting for me. I hop in, strap up, and take off. And when I took off, I squawked 0700, and Phuket Air Force radar would pick me up. I would climb to 10,000 feet. Now, it was a flare ship. And we would circle the compound that was under attack, and I had these guys in the back throwing out these magnesium flares.
Yeah.
Okay, and after we expended the flares, then Phuket would give me a GCA approach to their airbase because we didn't have those facilities back. So, I'm up there flying. And in the morning, I flew back to the company area, and all of a sudden, there's Major Matt waiting for me. And I turned to my Peter pilot and I said, shut her down, because he's patting the seat, he wants to talk to me. So I get in, and we're driving back to the company area, and he says, you're grounded. I said, I am. He said, yeah. Colonel Anderson came in to my office, looked at me, and said, ground the SOB, and walked out. I said, am I getting court-martialed? He didn't say anything. He said, just ground you. And the story was, they were monitoring my flight and base operations.
Mm-hmm.
And, and one of the neurosurgeons, or flight surgeons, I'm sorry, that heard about this, runs in to battalion base south screaming, get him down, get him down. He's only got one eye. He's only got one eye. So there I am flying instruments with one eye and 5 medical waivers. And and then then it came time for R&R. And I wanted to go to, I never made R&R first tour, and so I'm going the second tour. So I'm going to Sydney. And right before I went got to go to Cameron Bay to catch the bird to take me to Sydney. I stopped by the mailroom and got a paperback room called Quality of Life. Yeah, let me grab it here. By James A. Michener, Quality of Life. I read this book, thin book, all the way to Sydney.
Okay.
Had a great time in Sydney, played golf, met some ladies, went to nice restaurants, and on the way back, I read it again. And in this book, Michener talks about our Centurion complex. And basically, he was anti-Vietnam. He was not for the war in Korea. He wrote The Bridges of Toko Ri that I did 2 book reports on while I was in high school. So I knew the books well and everything. And he says, we got to quit doing this.
Okay.
And I said, he's right. And when I got back to the company area from my R&R, there was a Twix that had been put out from battalion, or actually 1st Aviation Brigade. Any aviator, 2nd Tour, that wants to resign can do so.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you, they were already starting the rift, and we had our first rift, and we had several officers that had college graduates were being rifted. And if I would have gotten rifted, I would have gotten $15,000 separation pay. And I didn't get rifted.
That sucks.
And so I thought,
What was RIF? What did that stand for?
a reduction in force.
Oh, okay. I know what RIF is.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did that too.
Yeah. And so they're downsizing now, and I figured, I pushed the envelope far enough, find something else to do. And so, I signed this, and when Matt Canberra found out about it, there's a pounding of, he said, what is this? I said, Matt, I'm done. And he was really upset about it, because he was really working to get me regular officer's commission.
Yeah.
So came time to leave, and first the flight surgeons called me in, and they gave me a going away present. They gave me a bottle of Darman, that big, because my 2nd tour was gin and tonics and Darman. Caught the Freedom Bird. Again, flew to Alaska. Then at that time, there was kind of a layover in Alaska. You could go to the lounge and have a couple drinks and things like that.
Right.
Yeah. And then flew into Travis Air Force Base. Spent the evening at Travis. In the morning, they took me down to Oakland Army Depot. Guy asked for my green card and gave you my severance pay. And the only thing, right before that, there was a guy came in from the VA, says, anybody have any problems or anything? And I said, he says, all right, put it down about your wound from 1st tour. I didn't think that much of it. And so I did. And I had written to my buddy Joe Baginski, the guy that had did all the urinations for me. He was flying helicopters in Grand Canyon, flying people in and out of Grand Canyon. He says, when you get back, let me know, and I'll meet you up in Sacramento, because that's where he's from, and I'll introduce you to my family and everything. And so I went up there, I met Joe, and then he said, let's rent an airplane and fly back to the Grand Canyon. And we'll land at Flagstaff. So we did, and flew to Las Vegas, topped off. And there I'm sitting there as we're topping off. I look and I see this airplane that's parked there, and on the tail of it, Evel Knievel. And I took a photograph of it. Well, anyhow, Joe and I in this Beechcraft Bonanza, low level to Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Landed at Flagstaff and got a car and drove up to the southern cusp. And we stopped at a store, and I got a 6-pack of Coors. And this was in February, and I'm looking at the Grand Canyon, and it's incredible. Nobody's around, and I'm sipping on my Coors, and all of a sudden, Joe lights up and passes me a marijuana. Never touched it, never. I thought, took one hit, started coughing, got back to my beer and said, no thank you. And so then got to Freedom Bird, or not Freedom Bird, I went to, back to Flagstaff, got a flight that's to Phoenix, and then from Phoenix to Harrisburg, and walked in. My grandparents put me up. I thought, okay, I'm got all my flight records and everything. I'm going over to Harrisburg Airport at the FAA office, and I'm going to get my instrument rating and commercial ticket because I have all the time now and everything.
Oh, I would assume, yeah.
So I went over and I saw this one FAA guy, and I'm showing him, you know, flight time from 2 tours, my instrument rating, instrument flight exam. He said, man, this is great. He says, when you leave here this afternoon, you could have a commercial fixed wing, rotary wing instrument ticket. Hey, that's all I want.
Yeah.
So he says, just go over in the room. He says, I got to give you a test on the regs, which as an instrument flight examiner, I knew inside and out. And I started towards the door. He says, oh, I need a copy of your physical.
I was just going to see if the physical was going to come up again.
So I handed it to him and started going back to the room. He says, wait a minute. Get back here. He says, what is this? I said, what do you mean? You are flying on all kind of medical
Waivers?
waivers, yeah, medical waivers. And then I told him the story about, you know,
Yeah.
he looked at me, he took my flight records, threw them up in the air, did a 360 in his chair, and he says, by God, I knew the Army was, and used the F word, but I did not realize that the Army was this F word up. He says, you are permanently grounded. I said, you're kidding me. No, he got out the FARs. He said, right here, you have defective cranium. You're done. He says, I have to write to Oklahoma City and to see what we're going to do with you. So, in the meantime, he's writing to Oklahoma City. And then I get a letter from the VA saying, I understand that you had combat wounds first tour, a report to Philadelphia. Well, in the meantime, a good buddy of mine got me a job selling insurance for Prudential. And I just started, and I said, well, Frank, I got to go down to Philadelphia and see the VA. And he says, oh yeah, you'll probably get some compensation, maybe enough to buy a case of beer or something like that. Okay. So I thought, should I dog it? And I thought, I just bought a brand new car, another Mustang, but not convertible. I had brand new suits and everything. So I put on my brand new suit. I went down. I had a report at 1,300 hours. So I got there, it was, I guess, right before 12. Reported at the front desk. And the guy says, go over to the waiting room and wait. So now, next thing, 1,300 hours. 1,400 hours. 14:45, and I hear these two guys dressed, wearing white coats. Well, I guess at Bongart's no show. And I said, excuse me? I've been sitting here for almost 2.5 hours. Yeah, and they look, and I forgot. The clerk forgot to tell them that I was here. And all of a sudden, they became very apologetic. And,
I would hope so.
And so, they're going over my records, they're checking me out, and they're saying, my God, man, you came through this. This is unbelievable. Wow. And at one point, this one nurse surgeon says to me, you have any problems? I said, yeah. I said, the FAA won't give me my pilot's license. And he said, Mike, after all you've been through, do you really want to fly again? Think about it. When you get married and have a kid and everything, do you really want to fly? I said, absolutely. I was a pilot before I went in the service, and I lost my career. So it's what I wanted to be. And so anyhow, I'm thinking, okay. So then he says, okay, I need to take your blood pressure. So I hold up my arm. And he looks down, he says, is that a Rolex? Oh, yeah. I bought a Rolex, second tour numb, because Matt Cambrot had a Rolex. I had my bull of Acatron, and my bull of Acatron was suffering vibrations from firing all that time in helicopters, and it was upsetting the tuning fork. Okay, so it convinced me to buy a Rolex. Now, I'm single, I'm crazy, so I have this Rolex. And this nurse said, I always wanted one. So I take it off, I show it to him, and he's looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, I may not even get enough money for a case of beer. And then when I said, he's saying, well, I don't know about this flying stuff. I said, Doc, you're a nurse surgeon, right? Right. And I said, suppose you leave here this afternoon, and you got the green light at the intersection, and a car runs the red light and broadsides you, and you wake up at post-op and look down and see that your right arm is amputated just below the elbow. I said, how much neurosurgery are you going to be able to do? He says, I guess I won't be doing any. I said, how are you going to feel? I said, that's how I feel about not being able to fly. Well, I got passed to another one, another thing, and all of a sudden they said, okay, go home. So I'm walking down the hallway to go out the door, and I walk by this open door, and I heard, and patient said to me, if I was in an automobile accident, he's dictating this story into a dictaphone, okay? So, I don't know, it's only a couple weeks, I get 2 letters. One from the FAA, and one from the VA. And I opened the one from the VA, and an explanation said that they couldn't decide my case at Oklahoma City. They had to go to Washington. Okay, they made a determination in Washington that I'd be given a Class 2 physical only. I could not have a Class 1. To go to the airlines, you needed a Class 1 to get an ATR rating, so that cut me out for the airlines.
All right.
Okay. Now, but they also put medical waivers on it. I could solo, but I had to have an encephalogram or whatever, a neurological evaluation every year. And I'm thinking, and then I thought about those commercial pilots that flew charter flights and waited for hours and stuff like that. I said,
Yeah.
do I really? And then I opened up the second letter from the VA. 50% for head injury. And I'm thinking, wow,
Yeah.
are they kidding? And so I called my buddy John Todd, the warrant officer, who, his story is, now listen to this. He met a CIA secretary, beautiful blonde, and they get married. They go to Michigan University and they get pre-law degrees, and they go to Georgetown and they get their law degrees. She becomes prosecutor, assistant prosecutor, Pontiac County in Michigan, and he winds up teaching law school at a Christian college up there.
Wow.
Teaching law, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I told him the reading, he says, Mike, you're golden. I said, what do you mean? He says, you qualify for vocational rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
He says, take that letter and go to the VA. So, I did, because had it wouldn't have been for John, I wouldn't know anything about this.
Right.
And so I went, and so they gave me a bunch of tests, and this counselor, he said, wow, you did really well. He says, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I told him, what was it, Woods Hole, I said, I want to become a marine biologist. And he says, wait a minute, this involves scuba diving and things like that. He says, no, I don't think so. He says, if you want to become a lawyer, we can set you, we'll set you up, And I said, well, I really don't know what I want to do. I said, I'll just go here to Harrisburg Area Community College until I find out what I want to do, and I'll start. So I go to Harrisburg Area Community College, and I took a course in photography. The photographer says, hey, you got talent. In photography, there's a course that's opening up at RIT, Rochester, New York. Environmental Photographic Communications. Go up there. I went up there. Got involved in their program. I wound up doing an internship at Johns Hopkins. Wound up graduating with highest honors from RIT. And then I started going around looking for a job in medical photography. And the hospitals are saying, what is this? What is, and they're not ready for it. It's something brand new. So, I was sitting at Harry's Tavern. I was trying to get a job with Xerox, and I was told I was the only one, this guy told me, I was the only one that he knew of that had 4 interviews with the Xerox that didn't get the job. So this is after my fourth interview. I'm sitting in this brand new suit and everything at the bar, and there's another guy down at Harry's Tavern again. Comes up to me and says, is that a Rolex? And I said, yeah. And he says, I got one too. So we started talking, and he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a professional interviewee. What's that? I said, I interview for jobs but never get them. And he says, I work for the state, for Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission, and we could use some help. Summertime help. He says, yeah, this was like June. He says, we can hire you now, but in September, we'll have to let you go. I said, okay, I can use the money. So push came to shove. I took the job. I wound up eventually becoming the director of the unit they hired me for. So I had this great job. I set up my own photography business. Got me a TR6 Triumph, another motorcycle, and I was having a ball. And then one day I was jogging along the river, and I ran into this Presbyterian minister, we had a long chat, and I realized that I gotta go back. I gotta get my, I have to go to seminary. So wound up, the guy sent me to Princeton Seminary. 3 years, I had to quit all my jobs and everything. I got to Princeton, well, this is a kind of a cute story too. I had to be psychologically evaluated because I'm like 46 at the time, never been married, and they want to check me out. So, okay. So, for 2.5 days, I went through this evaluation. And when they were done with me, they said, well, we feel that you have qualifications for ministry, but we understand that the only school that you applied for was Princeton Theological Seminary. You will not get in there. Not with your degree in biomedical photographic communications. You
Okay.
better start applying for other seminaries right now. Okay, so about a week later, here comes 2 letters again. One from the Career Counseling Center, which is a carbon copy they sent to the Presbyterian Church, Presbytery over in Carlisle, and another one is from Princeton. And so I opened the one from the Counseling Center, and it's what they said, that they feel I'm qualified for ministry, but I should start applying because I'll never get accepted to Princeton. Open up the second one, I got accepted to Princeton Theological Seminary. Now, this is how it goes. I go to Princeton. Now, the pastor, the Presbyterian minister who took me under his wing and decided that I should go to Princeton. Well, I didn't want to go to Princeton at first. I tried to go to a seminary down outside of Atlanta called Columbia. And I applied there, but they wanted me to take the GREs.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to take them because he got me a tutor because I had to take Greek and Hebrew. So I was studying Greek to get ready to go to seminary. And he said, well, I'm going down there. The guy's name is Reverend Dr. Fred Anderson. He says, I'm going down there. I'm teaching a quick seminar down there, and I'll talk to administration. So he went down and did his thing, talked to administration, came back, and they still insist on you having to take the GREs. Now, apply to Princeton. So I applied. And so get accepted. I'm down there. I took what they call summer Greek. That's all you go during the summertime. That's all you take, morning, noon, night Greek, for 8 weeks. And so anyhow, so I'm down there. Well, second week I'm there. We were all at lunchtime. We're in the cafeteria, round table, and one guy starts, "What's your undergraduate degree in?" Well, mine is in. One of them said history of the world, history of religion, all this, and and they get to me, and mine is biomedical photographic communications from Rochester, and they just say, "What is that?" And I told them, photography, and basically, and there's a woman sitting at our table, and she comes up to me and says, "Hey, come with me." So we leave a cafeteria and we go into this brand new building that hasn't been dedicated yet. And it is now Princeton Theological Seminary's Multimedia Center. And she takes me to the director and said, "Dwayne, listen to what this guy has a degree in." And I told him, and he gets up from his desk. He says, "Come with me." So we go over. He hits La La Land, the elevator. We go down. He opens up the door, flips on the light, and it's this incredible photographic studio. He says, "Do you know what?" And I said, "Yeah, we use stuff like this at RIT." And he showed me the cameras, and I said, "Yeah, I had one just like it, but I sold it before it came to seminary." Okay. but I kept some other ones. And then he took me in the dark room. I said, oh, yeah, Omega 210 and larger. And he looked at me and he says, you want a job? I said, yeah. So they hired me as their photographer. So that was my job while I was going through seminary. Well, I got to know the profs and everything. I worked on copying photographs of Dead Sea Scrolls and things like that the world has, or people in the United States haven't seen yet. These are stuff fresh coming over from Israel.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then I mean seriously,
Yeah.
this is how my life goes. And the thing, it was kind of funny when I had to take, I passed Greek with a B minus. Then the next summer I had to take Hebrew, and it's again an 8-week. They call it Masada Hebrew in Kamikaze Greek, Masada. And you know, I'm dying. I'm really having a lot of problems. And so they said, well, we'll get you a tutor. So they got me this graduate, upper graduate, to tutor me. And at one point, after tutoring me a couple times, he says, have you ever been checked for dyslexia? I said, no. He said, okay. So the following time we met, he says, I want you to take this test. So I took this test, and he says, according to this test, you have an 80% chance of being dyslexic. He says, but right around the corner from our seminary it's called the Lewis School. And he showed me that they were written up in Time magazines, that they work with dyslexic people and things like that. And go down, talk to them. So I went down, and they said, yeah, it's a week program. You come in here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you'll leave at 5 in the afternoon. You get an hour at lunch, and then we give you 2 hours of homework that you have to do.
On top of your seminary work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, no, actually, it was, all right, what it was, I had to take my Hebrew final I said, let me take my Hebrew final. Okay, so I still have a couple weeks before we start the regular semester.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I went down, and they said it would cost $400, but they kind of gave me a break and charged me $2. I put it on my plastic credit card. Then I'll tell you another story, again, how my life goes. So I've got this credit card, but and I'm getting a lot of financial help, plus my job and everything, but I'm running up this credit card. Well, I'm going to tell this story. Well, anyhow.
Go ahead.
Right before, I had this photography business. Right before going to Princeton Seminary, I get a call from one of the guys, Honcho, that worked for Columbia Gas Company.
Okay.
Okay. And we became friends. And we played golf together, although technically I guess we shouldn't, because he was the enemy and I, you know, one of those. And yeah. The sunshine law kind of thing. Well, anyhow, he called me and says, Mike, get your cameras and meet me over at the house. We're bringing the trips home. He and his wife had triplets.
Okay.
So I put in a leave set, kept that legal. Went over to his house, and you know, I took some umbrella lighting and good camera equipment. And I'm taking shots of, they had balloons set up and everything, photographs of him and his wife, 3 triplets. And they had a dog, Labrador Retriever. And I had 1 shot left. And I said, Jack, I got an idea. Put Travis, was the dog name, put Travis up on the couch and put the trips right against her belly. Or his belly, huh? And I took this one last shot. Okay. Now, I sent them away to be processed. I get the negatives and went through, and there's this really neat shot of Travis and the trips. I gave him everything because I'm leaving for seminary in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, following years, after I was diagnosed with dyslexia, okay, they gave me a letter that I could take back and show it to Princeton Seminary, and to like give me preferential treatment, let me sit at the, and if I had a laptop, let me use the laptop, and let me use the laptop for ordination exams I had to take, and all my exams and everything. The only thing I had to do is show the prof that there's nothing in my computer to thing. And the thing is, we were doing Blue Book exams. Something. My writing was horrible, spelling was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when I started doing this, my grades started going up because they could read what I was writing and everything. Anyhow, to get this laptop, I went to the mailbox one day, and there's a letter from Jack. Opened up the letter, and attached to the letter is a check for $1,000. I said, here's my laptop.
Yeah.
A big down payment on my laptop. And I started reading, and he said, you know that photograph you took of Travis and the trips? My wife took it down in Photoshop, and they liked it so much, they asked if they could make a large photo and put it in the window, so they did. And then Heinz Pet's product had a photo contest, and she sent it in, and it won $10,000. She
Wow.
said, 3,000 to each of the trips, and we'll get you the one left over. After all, we provided the kids.
Yeah. And they did.
And they did. And
That's
everything.
great.
So that was my laptop, and yeah, I was diagnosed. But then this is where it was kind of fun. After they determined I was dyslexic, I found out that I could have gotten a waiver and not had to take Greek or Hebrew.
That would have made your life a lot easier, wouldn't
Yeah, but anyhow, I'm glad I did.
it?
So,
Yeah, you've learned it, so.
So upon graduation, it's got right before going to seminary, I had to sell my motorcycle.
That had to be a sad day.
Yeah, and I told so I gave my motorcycle to lived on top of the funeral home, and Jimmy Stone was the funeral director, and I sold it to him. And my aunt said, she was very nice. She says, "Go get your motorcycle back." So I went to Jimmy, and Jimmy says, "I sold it to a priest." So anyhow, and Jimmy and I were really good friends, and so when it came time to graduate, I invited he and his wife and my dad and his lady friend come to Princeton for graduation. A really big show. And Jimmy's son, he bought a Honda Goldwing for his son. Well, the son gave it back to him and told him to sell it. And when I found out about it, I made a deal with Jimmy. I gave him $300, that's all I had in the bank, and a deal that once I got out of seminary and found a church, I'd pay him back. Well, anyhow, he comes at seminary, and now he let me ride the motorcycle, but at graduation, he gives me an envelope and is giving me the bike as a graduation present.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so that on that 1100 Goldwing, that's the one I put all my camping gear on. And I thought, before I find a church, I'm going to zig across the United States and do make sure that I can say I stepped foot on every state. Can we stop it here?
We can stop it.
I got to go here.
Are we going to stop it as good?
Oh no, I'll be back.
Okay, perfect, yep.
I'll be back. I'm not done yet.
Hey, headphones.
bit. Oh, okay. The 2-month journey, okay, all right. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, we'll fall behind you.
Okay, all right.
Let me get my pill.
Are we okay?
By 4:30, that's all I'm gonna do.
Pardon me?
I gotta leave by 4:30.
What time?
It's 3:20.
What?
Hold on. It's 3:20.
You're kidding!
No.
Oh my God. Okay, all right.
We're on the motorcycle. Here, bring the mic down. Mic a little closer.
Okay,
There we go.
okay. So and my dossier resume is being circulated.